Arthur, you know something? I have an observation to make. I think that classic motto about war never changing is a load of bull hockey.
That old saw, that old saying.
That old song and dance about war never changing is bull hockey, and I hate to go blue this early in our overview video for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. But it seems like the war done changed a little bit.
There's some evolutions, if you will, in war present.
I mean, it's all space guns and jetpacks. If the
and
trailers
awesome
are
screens.
and cool ceiling screens, and Kevin Spacey is in it. That's inherently, I think, kind of futuristic.
Yes, Kevin Spacey does look like he's from a weird alternate future.
No, I'm saying, how did they get Kevin Spacey into my video game? It's like they shrunk him down with that beam from Inner Space, the movie. Let's talk about Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, because you reviewed the game for us.
Yes.
This video is going to focus mostly on the campaign stuff, although I do have some questions about the multiplayer footage. The two of us did a preview of the multiplayer earlier on.
Yes.
So check that out if you want to see it in action with commentary. We'll also put up some raw gameplay videos of the multiplayer also. But this is the campaign.
Yep, this is the first mission in the campaign.
I think that they maybe showed this off at an E3 or something.
Yeah, so there's a truncated, slightly modified version of this that they showed at E3, and as they always do at E3...
Oh, Jesus. Who's steering this thing?
Oh, nobody. It's self-steered.
God, the future.
It's scary. So at E3, they did the usual, in the interest of time, and skipped past a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, they basically admitting, like, listen, parts of this are going to be boring.
Yeah, guess what? You shoot dudes.
You shoot a bunch of dudes.
Call
you want to see that?
Dudes.
We're gonna skip past 500 murders.
Yes.
And get you to the good murders.
So yeah, this is the beginning of Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. It's a very pretty game, in case that wasn't obvious.
Well, I mean, right now we're just okay. Now that looks better. Touch on some of the, obviously, like, there's been a lot of talk about the futuristic elements of the game and its world. I think probably the locomotion is the biggest difference. You have the air dash to side sort of strafe dashing. Can you sort of elaborate what's new in that department?
Right. So every soldier in the game has a exosuit, which provides them with additional strength and speed, and also provides a boost, which means that should you jump into the air, you can hit the jump button again and double jump. If you click the stick right, left, or back, you'll boost right, left, or back. And this adds a lot of sort of elaboration and enhancement of movement to the Call of Duty sort of vocabulary.
And I'm assuming, oh my god, you're gonna...
Oh dear.
I'm assuming that that there are different types of suits with different kinds of boots?
So here we have a specific sort of, or a sort of standard combat suit that has like a function that allows you to stop yourself in the air to slow your descent. It's like a jetpack, except you don't get to jet around. And then there are other suits as well. Later on, you have one that allows you to climb specific surfaces.
Interesting.
There are some others that I don't want to spoil, but that they use to add new gimmicks to gameplay for specific levels that actually do a pretty good job of varying it up and helping the pacing not feel stale, which has definitely been a problem in Call of Duty games for a while, where the only way to break up the monotony is to have a turret level.
Right,
and
that's on rails level, or a well, I mean, it's still a turret, I guess, but like a top-down AC-130 gunship level.
And there's a little bit of that in this, not the AC-130 thing, but like some slight on-rails stuff. But it's handled generally better than I think it has been a lot, and it's also, that's not the only trick they have to vary up what you're doing, and that's really appreciated. Aside from the fact that they're awesome walking tank robots.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. I mean, I'm not inherently against on-rails segments, and I think Call of Duty especially has pulled off some really cool ones, like namely the snowmobile chase. You can like shoot the ice and make, I forget, God, I don't know, there've been 500 of these.
Is that? I think that's Modern Warfare 2.
Now, I'm not even going to try to guess, because I'll definitely get it wrong. But it's good to hear that they are mixing it up a little bit more than that. Is the traversal stuff? I mean, are there platforming segments? Is the traversal stuff like heavily emphasized in the campaign of the game?
Not much. There are a couple levels. One in particular that I'm thinking of where they add a new way to traverse that isn't just double jumping, that totally changes the nature of the level, and it's used to surprisingly create a stealth mission that is not a total chore to play.
Interesting.
Which would be surprising for a stealth game, much less a Call of Duty game. So that's appreciated, actually. So here we have a turret section, but it's not very long, and it's kind of neat, and also displaying like a new enemy type.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Yes.
It's interesting to like see these mechanics and hear how they're implemented in the campaign. But like when I think about, I still cannot wrap my mind around, and I don't think I'll be able to until I actually play it, the idea of double jumping and jet boosting in multiplayer.
Right. There is a learning curve, and also there's sort of an inverse learning curve where if you played a fair amount of Titanfall this year, as I did, and I think you played a bit, it's not Titanfall. It's not as fast as Titanfall. There's no wall running, and that it doesn't emphasize moving around the level that way, but it does sort of feel, in a lot of ways, like a Halo game in the way that you sort of jump around and move around the environment, combined with the sort of standard life and death mechanics of Call of Duty games. Like, you will die quickly if you get shot, and it's interesting. It's interesting for the first time in a long time, where it's not just, oh well, we changed the way that you create your class. It's not the metagame that's changed, although that has seen some changes with the Pick 13 system, which I actually like quite a bit. And like, you can make any streak a support streak now, which means that it's a cumulative score modifier rather than a streak. So if you die, you won't lose it.
All about that. Yeah.
But it makes it way more expensive.
Sure.
But I mean, like, every Call of Duty has played with its progression that way. Like, that's sort of like the shortcut to innovation. And here you'll see a smart grenade, which is one of the new pieces of equipment in the game that's kind of fun.
Oh no! Is that in multiplayer too? It seems overpowered.
I don't remember, actually. I don't... You use wrist launchers for grenades in multiplayer. It's very much like Black Ops 2 in that regard.
Okay.
So you're not throwing a lot of stuff. Thankfully, I didn't die.
Yeah, that would have been embarrassing. Does it feel like Call of Duty still though? Like, I don't know. It seems like this franchise has definitely changed from title to title, but there's a sort of core understanding there that hasn't really changed, because I think once you get into the RNA of the gameplay and start tweaking that's how you like piss off the billion people who buy this game every year.
I think that it's recognizable as Call of Duty. I think that it has a lot more surprises and a new set of things that you have to learn. I had to cut here because I got a notification on my Xbox, my Xbox.
No.
I think that the core of it is Call of Duty for people that are looking for Call of Duty. But for people who have enjoyed Call of Duty but sort of gotten turned off by just the same basic game over and over again, that it offers something different.
How accessible is it to people? Like, I don't know if it was just because Ghost wasn't a very good game, or if I just like feel like I'm falling away from the franchise. I used to love this game, man. I spent like 150 hours playing Modern Warfare 2. But like I feel like I've slipped away, and how I'm curious to hear like how much, if at all, they've like changed mostly the multiplayer to make it more accessible to people like me who don't form like that expertise around the game. Like, are the customization options broad enough to make me feel like, even though I'm not an incredible like headshot sniper guy, I can still hold my own?
Compromises like allowing any streak to be a support streak is really helpful.
Yeah.
And you can limit the number of streak bonuses that you get. Like, talking to someone at the review event where I played the lion's share of this game, one of their strategies that I actually adopted was that I would get a lot of kills in a match, but I would, like, get 2 kills, die once, which would mean no score streaks for me. So what I did is I turned it into a support streak, and then I made it so that my only support streak was a UAV. So basically, I would get a UAV really quickly and call it in, and then I would just be able to go back to that streak again and call it in again, instead of, like, call in a UAV, then work towards my next thing and have it take time to work back. I think that there's a lot of ways to customize what you're doing to your skill set, and I think that that's valuable. And I also think that they've also tweaked stuff like shotguns, which I think have been a problem in the Call of Duty games for a real long time.
How so?
You could shoot the wings off a fly from 200 yards away with most of the shotguns in Call of Duty. And I think that is frustrating and inappropriate because they're also just a monster up close. So there's a new shotgun in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, which is Minority Report force gun. Yes, the directed energy shotgun, which is incredibly effective up close, like just super effective up close and a lot of fun to use. But not only does it not have that crazy range that shotguns have had in Call of Duty for a long time, you can see where its range stops. Like, you can see the distortion it makes with its fire and sort of know inherently, even if you're not the one using it, what the effectiveness of that weapon is.
Interesting.
And little touches like that I think are really smart for people who aren't the murder machines of Call of Duty but still want to have fun.
Right. I think that's an accurate way of describing my level of skill at the game. Not a murder machine. I'm interested in murder, certainly. Talk to me a bit about the campaigns. We talked about the mechanics, and that all sounds like very promising. But how is the spacey? By which I mean the narrative.
So unfortunately, the story isn't great. Occasionally, Kevin Spacey is really good. It feels like Kevin Spacey is phoning it in about half the time, or he's hamming it up, I guess. It could be hard to tell the difference.
On a scale of 1 to Dinklage.
Oh,
how
God.
much?
Nothing is that bad.
Okay,
that is, like, the worst. Yeah.
That was mean. That was mean. I feel bad.
And here you'll get a chance to see the threat grenade again, which is the sort of big thing that they showed at E3 that everyone was blown away by, which is really cool.
Yeah.
It's incredibly useful. And you have 2 classes of grenades now. You have the non-lethal and lethal variety, which is sort of a callback. Honestly, it feels the most useful that secondary grenades have since Call of Duty 2. Like, the smoke grenades in Call of Duty 2 were an incredibly vital part of your sort of resources, and you will be using threat grenades in this game.
Yeah. So the story you were. I'm curious to hear like what the gold standard for you for Call of Duty storylines is. I guess for me, I guess it's Black Ops. The Black Ops series is as like weird and almost campy as they were. I kind of appreciated that more than the usual. Oh no, Russia's become a military superpower and now we have to stop them again.
I think for weird Call of Duty, like if there's like 2 schools of Call of Duty, there's like weird Call of Duty and serious Call of Duty.
Sure.
Black Ops
or you could just say the Treyarch and Infinity Ward.
Right, well. For weird Call of Duty, obviously Black Ops is probably the best. I think for serious Call of Duty, Modern Warfare is probably still the high point.
The original, the OG.
Yeah. Because Modern Warfare 2 was really, really stupid and exploitative and like just used cheap shock tactics, I think, in place of
story. That was no Russian, wasn't it?
Not just no Russian, but like the invasion of the U.S. and the sort of like really like hand pulling on the heartstrings of fighting in America that it tried to do.
So where does this fall on the spectrum?
There are things that I like about it. First of all, like it's not like a poor person murder world tour where you're just like going around the world killing like poor brown people who happen to be a different religion.
Sure.
It's a little more complicated than that. There is a woman in the game that is a fighting character that is incredibly powerful and awesome. Although she just vanishes for giant parts of the game for no particular reason. I think that the story works insofar as it pulls you through the game, but it's a totally predictable, quote, twist. The sort of overarching, like, big bad plot is totally nonsensical. It's just a bunch of dudes parroting shit at you, and it has some of those sort of, like, cheap can pulling on the heartstrings moments of exploiting our attachment to American icons. And there's also the press X to do stuff thing reaches a new low in this game.
Oh God, what are we talking about?
I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to. Like, a lot of people aren't gonna have the chance to play this until later in the week, and I don't want to spoil the story for them, such as it is. Also, the smart grenade chasing dudes is awesome every time.
Yeah, I mean that's not especially story.
No, but it just happened, and I felt the need to say something because look at it.
No, it's rad.
I think that the story is not the worst, quote, serious Call of Duty game, but it's not great. But again, the level design and variety on display redeems a lot of that as far as playing through it goes. Lengthwise, it's it's longer, and for some people that will be a plus. The thing about Advanced Warfare that some of the other Call of Duty games has sort of not quite gotten is that it doesn't feel like it overstays its welcome. And that's kind of a big deal, I think.
Have past Call of Duty games? I guess they've done that. Not Ghost. Ghost was over in a flash, it felt like.
Yeah, Ghost
not that I was particularly
long.
hungry for more of that particular experience, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Ghost was definitely longer than it should be, simply by virtue of the fact that it ran out of things to do or say that were interesting.
Sure.
I think Advanced Warfare actually succeeds at not running out of interesting things to do, which is something that a lot of single-player games actually struggle with quite a bit.
I've never been particularly concerned about that, because when I think about a Call of Duty game, like, sure, the campaign is occasionally pretty great, and I'll tend to go back and play it through on harder and harder difficulties to get them sweet trophies. But I mean, most of my experience with Call of Duty games is with multiplayer, like
right.
10 times as much time as I spend on the campaign.
And
Is there like a tertiary mode?
There is co-op.
Okay.
Which is a wave-based survival mode that takes place in multiplayer levels. And it's alright. It's fun. I think that you'll probably want to play it on slightly higher difficulties, and each level is actually a different difficulty.
Okay.
I think
but no zombos.
Right, so there was the rumor the day before we were recording this in the leaked trailer showing zombies in Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. That was not at the review event. That is not in the version of the game that I have right now in my Xbox One.
Weird.
So I don't know what's going on with that.
DLC possibly?
I guess.
Seems like a big thing to squirrel away like that.
Yeah, and it's not like the game feels content light. There are a lot of multiplayer maps, and all of them are playable in co-op as well. And obviously there's the season pass because this is a
video game being released in 2014 AD, Year of Our Lord.
Year of Our Lord. So I don't know what the deal with that is, although it does look appreciably different from Treyarch's zombies, which have always been sort of slow Romero zombies.
Yeah.
These look much more like World War Z zombies. So you'll notice this kind of is apart from the E3 demo. Like we're getting towards the end of the level. And this is where like the money shots came in the Microsoft press conference. The opening level is actually not the most impressive level in the game. There's a lot of very cool stuff. In that regard, it was a pleasant surprise that the game kept showing interesting stuff, even as occasionally I would roll my eyes at some of the Call of Duty TM moments.
Sure.
That it just shoehorns in. And honestly, like, some of the biggest weaknesses that the game has is that it's a Call of Duty game, and it definitely feels at times like they're trying to squeeze in those Call of Duty moments that they feel like they have to, and since Sledgehammer isn't the creators of Call of Duty, maybe they don't feel like they have the latitude to really deviate from what that series is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a segment where you either drag a wounded friendly or are dragged by a wounded friendly while violins play in the background. That's you got to have that, or else it's Battlefield. You know what I mean? That's like that's what when I think of Call of Duty, I don't even think of multiplayer. I think of being dragged while I've just suffered some grievous injury.
The most contrived, scripted press X moments possible.
Yeah. Usually involving dragging a person.
But as those things go, Advanced Warfare is actually very good. And here you get to see how much work they put into the tech. The faces in this game are incredible, except for, ironically enough, Kevin Spacey.
Well, that's because he's an android. At the end of the game, you learn.
It's more, I think, that everybody is so familiar with what Kevin Spacey looks like.
Yeah, that's
true. Any imperfections or any sort of simplification or weirdness in his facial animation is going to be obvious.
Or maybe he's just like one of those people who just cannot be rendered. You know what I mean? Like, try to paint Kevin Spacey. You can't do it. It cannot be done.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, he has no portraits anywhere. Just cannot be done.
Except for the one portrait that gets older as he doesn't.
Exactly. No, he's getting older. But elegantly. I like the way he looks.
He's aging.
Oh, Jesus. I just remembered this part from the... So, this seems... I mean, I'm happy. This seems... obviously much better than Ghosts.
Ghost was a train wreck.
It seems like something I can sink my teeth into, and I've missed that having that annual experience. I know it's like it's not the most elegant, for lack of a better term, franchise that gaming has, but like I don't know, I have some fond memories of getting in some Call of Duty time every November, and it seems like this is sort of a return to form. Bye, ARM. It's been fun.
If there's anything in you that harbors a desire to be enthusiastic about a Call of Duty game, even if it hasn't been active for a long time, then this is a Call of Duty game worth getting excited about.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Oh, and there are upgrades from mission to
in
mission in
campaign?
single player, yeah.
Interesting.
You get points to upgrade your exo.
Ooh, shit. I love points.
Yeah. I will say that completing challenges during the game can sort of take away from it adds some tonal weirdness.
Sure.
But yeah,
But who cares? Points!
That's Call of Duty Advanced Warfare.